This solves everything for the Toronto Maple Leafs as Brad Treliving continues looking for top six help. We get reports linking the Leafs to a two-time Stanley Cup champion as Brad Treliving continues trying to solidify this top six going into next season. We're going to break down all these reports, how he fits, and so much more in this episode. You're not going to want to miss it. Before we hop into that, if you haven't went down and hit that subscribe button yet, we're trying to reach a goal of 20,000 subscribers. It's completely free to hit, and in return, we'll give you updates from all around the league, from your Toronto Maple Leafs, the Florida Panthers, Ottawa Senators, all the way to the Vancouver Canucks. So look no further, hit that subscribe button, we'll keep you up to date. But in that case, let's just hop straight into these reports today, where we're getting reports coming from Dan Rose in the NHL. Teams are inquiring about Evan Rodrigues. Meanwhile, the fourth period is reporting Toronto, Detroit, Chicago, and Minnesota are all in on him if he officially becomes available. Now, the big thing is, we know the Florida Panthers want to go for their three-peat, but with the cap restrictions, signing everyone under the moon, including Brad Marchand, keeping Ekblad, Bennett, all these players, the cap casualties are going to slowly start coming out, and that's where Evan Rodrigues seems like the most likely, and with the reports, the most likely to be on the block. What is your thoughts on Rodrigues before we hop into what the Leafs would have to give up and how he fits in the lineup?
I mean, this guy has been a key role to winning back-to-back Stanley Cups for this team. You know, the stats in the regular season, maybe he's like at 35 points or 32 points just last season. But when he gets to the playoffs, he just enters clutch mode. I mean, he has 15 points in back-to-back playoff performances for this Florida Panthers team. Whenever they're down and they need something to be created, whether it's a scoring chance, whether it's putting the puck in the back of the net himself, Evan Rodrigues does that. And that's what I think the Leafs are very interested in with him, because yes, his regular season success has been there. I mean, 30 points is pretty good, but when you're talking about a guy who's going to contribute in the playoffs, obviously, this is what the Toronto Maple Leafs need. As we've seen over the last couple of years, some players, some players that are gone now have fallen asleep in the playoffs. So getting another guy like Evan Rodrigues, a good two-way player, will really help this team out, especially come playoff time.
Because that's the biggest thing with this Leafs team. We've seen the success they've had every single regular season. When they get to the playoffs, there's a full cloud of the stars aren't showing up. The team can't get over the hump. We've seen them finally make the second round since, 2004, just to lose back-to-back against the Florida Panthers. This is a team that wants and is inspiring to win a Stanley Cup. They moved on from Mitch Marner and adding Rodrigues, who still has a very good cap hit, only 2 years left on it, including this year and the next year. Coming up with the cap rising, the Leafs are in the perfect position to actually finally fill out this lineup. We've seen a team with the Toronto Maple Leafs have that core four. They had all their money thrown in to 4 key players. They moved on from Mitch Marner. They're finally filling out depth. You can pause and look through all the cap hits for this team as well. They still have room to make moves, just shy of $3 million, and that's without moving out some key pieces in players that we will touch on. But listen, the big thing is the Florida Panthers are going to have their backs against the wall until the start of the season to make up cap space, to be regulated going in. Yes, the Leafs can move out second-round picks, third-round picks, or fourth-round picks for someone like Rodrigues. But Casey, are you a little worried? You're looking at a division rival between the Leafs and the Florida Panthers. Could you see them looking at the Leafs and saying, hey, you have to add a lot more than most teams to acquire him in a trade?
Yeah, that's definitely a risk here for Brad Treliving and the Toronto Maple Leafs, is maybe they would have to give up a little bit more than a team like Minnesota, just because of they're going to be fighting for the top of the Atlantic this year. They're the two best teams in the division, and both teams are going to want to win the division this season. And adding a guy like Evan Rodrigues is going to help the Maple Leafs get there. He's a guy who immediately comes into this top six and is a great forechecker for this team. A guy who I think will pair well with William Nylander on that second line, with, Willie Stiles obviously being the great goal scorer that he is. I think these guys will have some great chemistry. So Florida obviously knows that, and they're going to have to give up a bit to get him. Right now we know that Nick Robertson is probably heading into arbitration, or is in there right now. So be interesting to see what his contract works out to be, because I think that will be what will be heading to Florida on the other end, is Nick Robertson, a guy who's been rumored to be leaving Toronto for the last 2 or 3 years, Mark.
Because the big thing is, we know Evan Rodrigues has been successful in the playoffs. This is not something Florida's just going to give up for absolutely nothing. They're going to try to figure out ways, maybe LTIR again, jokes, of course. They're not Vegas. But the big thing is, with this Leafs team, they have a lot of forwards and still cap room. The big thing is, you can see a lot of names within this lineup have been in trade talks. Kelly Yarncroke, David Kempf, moving out these guys give you almost $5 million in extra space. This gives the Leafs room to go out and add yet again another forward on top of someone like Evan Rodrigues. The lineup's going to get very interesting. The only thing we pretty much know on this lineup so far is John Tavares is going to be the second line center. We know Austin Matthews on the top. Matthew Knies is going to play on that top left wing, but Craig Berube has a really strong or big decision to make. Heading into next year, you have a lot of new names in the lineup, a lot of returning names. Bobby McMahon still here. Dakota Joshua's brand new. You still have Max Domi. Mancelli came over in a trade from Utah. This is a team that needs to figure it out. They need to get over that hump. They're doing an amazing job adding the extra depth to his team. But Casey, looking at the lineup, yes, there's going to be moving pieces. We're going to probably see David Kempf, maybe Nick Robertson, and Cal Yarncroke moved out in a trade. If the Leafs can secure Evan Rodrigues in this top six, is that enough for them to get over the hump? Or do you think Brad Treliving still needs to move out multiple pieces and prospects and picks? Could be Ben Danford and Easton Cowan to solidify that top six so they can win a Stanley Cup.
Yeah, I'm going to say this as a Montreal Canadiens fan. This is the best forward core that we've seen this Toronto Maple Leafs team have in a very long time. I mean, we've seen obviously them have a big loss with Mitch Marner, the over 100-point guy, had a career year. That is a big loss. But what did Brad Treliving do with this? He built a team, and that's what they've needed over this last year is not just having four players that and hope that they can get it done. They now have a roster full of guys with this Evan Rodrigues trade, if it does happen, that can go out and make this happen on any given night. Bringing in Michelli, bringing in guys like Evan Rodrigues. This is what is helping Nick Waugh as well. This is what is going to help the Toronto Maple Leafs finally get over that hump. They have the goaltending. They have the defensive core. Now it looks like that their forward core is finally rounding out. And Mark, I think this Toronto Maple Leafs team does look scary heading into this season.
And I think the big thing is just looking at the defense and the goaltending. We know Brad Treliving loves going to look at the Florida Panthers players that are leaving. Stolar's coming in, being phenomenal for the Leafs last year. Was the backup goaltender to Bobrovsky. We've seen OEL join this team after hitting the open market. Steven Lorentz. There's so many names on this team that Brad Treliving has poached from the Florida Panthers. They could look at Rodrigues and say, hey, you want to be here, we're going to be here, we want to build a culture. But Leafs fans, what is your thoughts on this? Do you think Evan Rodrigues is the perfect fit within this Leafs team? Would you rather Brad Treliving go out to find a bigger fish in the open market via trade, or maybe even go out and get some bargain bins in free agency? Let us know down below. While you're down there, leave a like, subscribe, share this with your friends. We'll be back with another episode, so keep your eye out for that. But I've been your host, Mark, with my co-host, KC, and take care, Leafs fans.